YouTube, good morning and welcome back. I've got some daily news here for you guys. And just so you know, the budget and the rate change, which are very much linked together, okay? They're kind of two peas in a pod. The budget right now cannot be implemented because they structured the budget in a way where it can only be implemented at a specific certain time. If you guys would like deeper studies on that, you're welcome to join us on Patreon and we'll help you out. Okay, we'll help you study this at a much more deeper, thorough level than just beyond surface basic news. Okay, so Al-Laq, the penalties imposed on 14 local banks were not in the time of the current government. All right, so this is a good article. It goes into detail how some of the 14 banks had U.S. sanctions imposed on them because they were wrongfully transferring the U.S. dollar when Iraq is trying to de-dollarize. It goes into detail about a lot of that, but it also has a very key point in here. It says because the project to delete the zeros still exists. Okay, and it does exist, but again, because that's referencing the rate change and it's linked. The rate change and the budget are linked together. The budget can only be implemented at a certain time. Okay, that's why as of right now you haven't seen the budget implemented yet. Neither have you seen the rate change. Everything can only happen at a specific time, but the budget has a specific time as to when it can only be implemented, and that's why nobody has seen this yet. This article is similar to the other one. The rise in the exchange rate, my time, and the project to delete the zeros still exists. He confirmed that the project to delete the zeros from the currency still exists. Very good article. Goes into detail about all that. Kurdistan region announces reaching an agreement with the federal government regarding employee salaries. They've had some differences. This is actually one of the items recently appealed in the budget. Now they're saying that the Kurdistan region and Baghdad reached an agreement on employee salaries. Without siding with the region, political efforts to legislate the oil and gas law, and we know that this law it's getting closer to being approved. Okay, it's one of the laws that they need to finalize an agreement on it and so forth between Baghdad and Erbil, and then they'll eventually get it approved. They're getting closer to doing it though. Ghazali, U.S. sanctions, right here. Ghazali, U.S. sanctions against Iraqi banks have political agendas behind them. Here's that article for you guys.
Political analyst Haytham Al-Hazali said, on Thursday, that the U.S. sanctions imposed on some Iraqi banks are behind political agendas and motives, pointing out that the central bank has taken a set of measures to ensure a reduction in the exchange rate. Al-Hazali told Al-Malumah, the U.S. Treasury imposed sanctions on some Iraqi banks, under the pretext that it had reviewed its data for the year 2022, before the arrival of the Sudanese government and before the creation of the electronic platform. He added, the U.S. sanctions do not have any justification, except that they are arbitrary measures behind which there are political motives to harm Iraq and its government. And he indicated that the central bank will find alternatives to the banks on which the sanctions were imposed, and it has allowed female exchanges of categories A and B to buy and sell currencies directly. And therefore this measure may contribute to reducing the exchange rate of the dollar. He explained that, there is a need to grant tax exemptions to merchants who engage in the electronic platform in order to reduce withdrawals from the parallel market and increase merchants' entry to the platform.
Parliamentary Finance sets the date for entry into force the budget. They're saying that the budget will be implemented in the next few days. I will disagree with this article and say that it can't, because right now is not the correct period of time for the budget to be able or eligible to be implemented. More time is needed for the budget. So, again, the article is saying next few days. I'm going to disagree with it, in my opinion, say nope, nothing will happen this week or next week with the budget. The dollar continues to rise in Iraq. Okay, this is because the dollar rose simply because they put sanctions on 14 banks, the U.S. Treasury did, okay? And that spiked the sale of the dollar up, which increased their inflation, hurting the citizens. Kurdistan region announces reaching an agreement with the federal government regarding employee salaries. And this is a good article. It's just simply saying that Baghdad and Erbil have reached an agreement on one of the appealed budget items, which were Kurdish government official salaries. And we are still waiting for the court to issue a ruling on that appeal as well. Parliament is challenging at this time the budget previously approved. Okay, and in this article it says the Finance Committee announced that it submitted appeals to the federal court with regard to the budget allocations for investment, budget for governance. The representative of the committee, I submit appeals to the federal court regarding the budget, regarding the investment budget allocations for the governance. This is because of the addition of notes that contradict Article 2, 4th A first. And then the last article, Parliamentary Finance calls on the federal court to resolve the budget appeals file. Finance Committee and the House Representatives confirmed Wednesday that there have been no developments so far regarding the budget materials, and that's correct. The court has not issued a ruling. They just barely, as of a few days ago of this week, like 2 days ago on Tuesday, the court announced that they just considered the appeals for review. Committee member Jamal Cougar said that the state order to suspend work on articles of the 23 which were challenged by the government is still valid. The articles that were challenged are not directly related to the lives of the citizens and will not stop the government's work, but they remain important legislation, noting that the committee is awaiting the federal court's decision in this regard. Cougar called on the federal court to expedite the issuance of its ruling on the articles that have been challenged, especially since some of these materials are judicially settled. Thanks, guys. Take care and have a great day.